Leo adjusted his costume in the mirror. He needed one last thing for his school play. "Grandpa?" he called out, running downstairs. His grandpa sat in a large armchair, a worn, leather-bound book open on his lap. "Can I borrow your old boots for my play? The ones from the army?" Grandpa looked up. His eyes, usually twinkling, held a distant look. "Those old things? They've walked a long way, Leo. Take care of them." Leo promised he would. He found the boots in a wooden chest. They were heavy, made of thick brown leather and laced up high. He slipped them on. They felt big and strange. He took a step. The world blurred. Suddenly, Leo wasn't in his grandpa's house anymore. He stood in a jungle. Giant green leaves dripped with water. The air was thick and hot. A line of young men in green uniforms marched past him. One of them turned. It was a young grandpa. His face was tense. His eyes scanned the dense trees. Leo's heart pounded. He felt a drop of sweat trickle down his forehead. He tried to call out, but no sound came. He was just an observer. He took another step in the heavy boots. The jungle vanished. Now he was in a noisy, crowded mess hall. The smell of stew filled the air. Young Grandpa sat at a long table with his friends. They were laughing and sharing stories. Grandpa pulled a crumpled photo from his pocket. It was a picture of Leo's grandma. He smiled a small, tired smile. Leo watched, his own heart aching a little. He saw the loneliness in his grandpa's eyes, even when surrounded by friends. He understood Grandpa missed home. He took a third step. Everything changed again. The air was cold. Snow fell softly around him. Leo shivered. He was in a forest of tall pine trees, their branches heavy with snow. Young Grandpa was huddled by a small fire with another soldier. They shared a small can of beans, their breath making clouds in the frosty air. Grandpa's hands, wrapped in thin gloves, were red from the cold. He looked up at the gray sky. His expression was one of pure determination. Leo felt the biting wind on his own cheeks. He saw the struggle to stay warm, to stay hopeful. It was much harder than he ever imagined. Another step. This time, Leo found himself on a large ship. The ocean stretched out in every direction, a deep, endless blue. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Young Grandpa stood at the railing, looking towards the horizon. His shoulders were slumped. He looked older than he did in the jungle. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He wasn't looking at the beautiful sunset. He was looking towards home. Leo stood beside him, unseen. He finally understood. Being a soldier wasn't just about marching and being brave. It was about being lonely, scared, and missing your family with all your heart. Leo felt a deep connection to his grandpa. He took another step, expecting a new scene. Instead, he was back in his own room. The familiar scent of his laundry and toys filled the air. The boots felt like just boots again. He looked down at them. They were just old, worn leather. But now they held stories. They held his grandpa's journey. They were no longer just a costume piece. They were a part of his family's history. He carefully took them off. He found his grandpa in the living room, still reading. Leo walked over and gave him a huge hug. Grandpa was surprised. "What's this for, champ?" he asked, hugging him back tightly. Leo looked at his grandpa. He saw the kind eyes, the gentle smile, and the faint lines of worry that never quite disappeared. He saw the young man in the jungle, the lonely soldier in the mess hall, and the determined face in the snow. He saw a hero. "For being brave," Leo whispered. Grandpa's eyes softened. He seemed to understand. He pulled Leo onto his lap. "Bravery isn't about not being scared, Leo," he said softly. "It's about being scared and doing what you have to do anyway, for the people you love." Leo looked at the boots on the floor. They were more than just leather and laces. They were a symbol of his grandpa's courage and sacrifice. They held the weight of memories, both difficult and hopeful. The next day at the school play, Leo wore the boots. As he walked across the stage, he didn't just feel like a soldier in a costume. He felt the strength and resilience of his grandpa with every step. He spoke his lines with a new confidence. He was telling a story, but he was also honoring a real hero. His hero. His grandpa sat in the front row. A proud smile spread across his face, his eyes twinkling brighter than ever before. After the play, Leo carefully cleaned the boots. He polished the leather until it shone. He tied the laces perfectly. He placed them back in the wooden chest, not just as borrowed items, but as treasured artifacts. He now knew their true value. They weren't magical boots. The real magic was in understanding. The boots had given him a gift far greater than time travel. They gave him empathy. They allowed him to walk a mile in his grandpa's shoes and see the world through a veteran's eyes. It was a lesson he would never forget. Thanks for coming along with us for this magical adventure. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Good night, little one.